Hear me out, but I think that the writing of Rhaenyra Targaryen on House of the Dragon is justice for Game of Thrones, who loved Daenerys and didn't love how her ending went out. If you're anything like me, you loved Daenerys Targaryen, but you felt like they played in her face for that finale. Like, we all know she was a little bit, she liked to burn people a little too much. But the burning of King's Landing, that just was unwarranted. I don't think that they had built enough connective tissue to get us to that point. And I feel like the writers of House of the Dragon, they know this, and they're doing their damnedest to build up to Rhaenyra's inevitable heel turn, because we know that girl is going to do some crazy stuff. And I'm going to start out pretty spoiler free with this, but this is a Game of Thrones story. So we know no one is going to get out of this story without doing some crazy stuff, without doing some questionable things, we'll just say that. Now for Daenerys, we knew she liked to burn people probably a little too much, okay? We knew that from the beginning. She did it a couple times and we were like, sis, this is a lot. Howsoever, that did not justify her burning down King's Landing. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, sorry. That did not justify her burning down King's Landing after she won the war. It just didn't make any sense, and all those burnings that she had done before, it just didn't make sense in the that ending did not make sense in the context of the story. I'm sorry, it just didn't work for me. On the other hand, the way they've done Rhaenyra is they've started her out as, of course, we like her. She's one of the stars of the show. We want to see her win. But from the beginning, they've painted her as a very impulsive character. She's done things, hasn't really thought through the consequences. It's kind of part of her charm. And we kind of see it also become her undoing, because it creates these not so great consequences for her that she has to deal with. And too often her answers to this is kind of like, well, I'm the heir. I have to fulfill the Song of Ice and Fire. So who gonna check me? And now as the series goes on, we're starting to see her kind of buy into her own hype. She's reading her own press clippings, and it's inevitable that this is going to go bad. And what I feel like the writers are doing right are they're slowly building up this character who starts out with very good intentions. I think we can all agree that she is probably on the side that's most in the right, but due to her impulsiveness, due to just kind of like buying into her own hype a little bit, it's going to cause her to do some things that, we're not going to love so much. I will say, though, it has led the story, because of all this buildup, it has led the story to be, or to feel a little bit slow. I don't know if anyone else agrees. Because like the last half of the season, I felt like it was just a lot of buildup. I was like waiting for something to happen. I was waiting for a battle, somebody to move and get to somewhere. And it was just a lot of buildup. But in a way, I think how slow it's been is kind of a good thing, just because it has fleshed out a lot of these characters. For instance, when I talk about Rhaenyra being impulsive, we have seen instances of this since the first season. She didn't even really want to be queen or whatever. She was just like, let me just ride away on my dragon. I ain't trying to do this. Then when she was supposed to pick a husband, which usually they don't get to pick anyway, but she was like, I don't want none of these people. And then she ended up marrying Lenore, and she is like, oh, it's not going to work out with him with kids. Okay, I'm just going to get pregnant 3 times by some other guy. And so what, the kids come out looking different. Nobody's going to say nothing because I'm the heir. Who going to check me? And then we have the dragon sowing. Let me just invite a bunch of people from the hoods of King's Landing and just invite them into my crypt. And if they can get on the back of a dragon, then I'm going to arm them with a nuclear weapon. No background check, no questionnaire, no fingerprinting, no interview, nothing. Also, I'm going to send them into this crypt. I'm not going to give them no instructions. I'm not going to teach them no words of High Valyrian to, no hello dragon. No, please don't burn me, dragon. Nothing. None of that. Promptly leaves those people in the dragon crypt, goes up to the press box and watches as chaos ensues. Actually, that's the wrong word. I should have said an inferno ensued. Did y'all clock the look in her eye as the flames arose? I said, baby girl, you may or may not be the Mad Queen. You may or may not be. We're also seeing her invoke the gods a lot more than she had. Because I don't really remember her invoking the gods too much in season 1. But everything, if something works out, it's if the gods will it, the gods are showing me this. It's always about the gods now. And we have people like Massaria in her ear, kind of like hyping her up. And she is buying into it. She's reading the histories. And I feel like she's kind of interpreting it in a way that looks upon her favorably. And whatever she's doing, it's the right thing. The gods are willing it to happen. It's very interesting. I know I look crazy right now. I'm trying to do a look that I saw on Ryan Destiny a while back, so let's trust the process and see what happens. And now we have Damon, now that he's tapped into the treater net, like he is all about the signs and portents and dreams, and he believes that she is the Song of Ice and Fire too, so he's gonna be gassing her up too. This will get crazier and crazier, I don't know. We're getting there, but not quite, because I still look insane. I'm gonna set it with some powder, and then I'm gonna clean it up. And then probably I will look human again. We gonna see. Okay, I'm back. I also wanted to know, like, did you guys find that stuff with Damon, the Damon arc, did you guys find that satisfying? Because I'm not sure. Like, so he had to see that he was part of a larger story in order to believe that Rhaenyra should be the queen in this part of the story. Because he was always part of a larger story, so why? I don't know that I find that convincing for that character. Also, even though Damon, he does his own thing, he's kind of a rogue, he goes off on his own little side quest, he always has been loyal to his family. Like, he always loves his family, and so I don't even know that I needed that. I'm just glad that they're back on the same team, I guess. I'll accept that part. I'll accept the win. And it's hard not to compare House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones. Do I think House of the Dragon is as good? No, definitely not. I think it's missing some of the like bigness of Game of Thrones. But I do really like House of the Dragon. And of course, I'm always glad to be back in the world of Ice and Fire. Ha ha ha. But a big difference I have noticed is, you notice most of these characters, I'm thinking almost none of them have friends. Like, Rhaenyra, she doesn't have any friends. I mean, once she lost Alicent as a friend, she doesn't really have any friends anymore. Maybe Rhaenys was kind of a friend, but obviously Rhaenys isn't there anymore. And, like, who is her friend? Daemon, that's her lover, that's her husband. That doesn't count. Even Mysaria, they were kind of building her up as maybe a friend, although we don't quite know what Mysaria's motives are, so that was always iffy. And then they got them, like, making out a couple episodes ago, so, like, this friendship is kind of convoluted now. Alicent doesn't have any friends. I mean, I guess, again, you could have counted Kristen Cole, but you see what they be doing. It's very complicated for them two. Larys and Aegon, maybe something's going on there, but you can never truly trust Larys. Larys always has his own thing going on. I don't think Alice Rivers and Daemon could count as friends because, again, she has some kind of agenda. I don't know what it is, but I think she has one. Aegon is so isolated. I don't know that that boy ever had a real friend. It kind of seemed like maybe him and Kristen Cole would be friends, but, you know, when it became inconvenient for him, he sent Kristen Cole packing. Also, Kristen Cole don't want to be his friend no more anyway. He crazy. I feel like maybe the only one with friends is Jace. Jace and Bela seem like friends, although they're betrothed, so that's kind of complicated. But then he's very good at forging relationships. So we saw him on the wall with Kragan Stark. That was really cute. Maybe they could be friends. I feel like in the book, they were really good friends, but they kind of yada that whole thing. I actually would have really liked to have seen their friendship. It was a whole lot going on in the North in the book that they really took out, and I'm kind of upset about that. And when I compare House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones, I feel like there were really good friendships on Game of Thrones, even within families, and that is missing. Like, and maybe I guess that's the central premise of the show. The breakup of the friendship of Alicent and Rhaenyra, and then the breakup of ties within the Targaryen family. So I guess that's kind of the point. When you think about some of the great friendships in Thrones, like Sam and Jon and Tormund, Bronn and Tyrion, although that was a little iffy, and then Bronn and Jaime and Tyrion, because Jaime and Tyrion, they was on each other's side within that family, even though everyone hated Tyrion. Who else? Jorah and Dany, although Jorah wanted something more, but, you know, that was a friendship. Who else? I'm sure I'm missing some, but I feel like elements like that are some of the things missing between the main series and House of the Dragon. Woo! You know one thing about friendships, though, specifically between the dragons and their riders? Because I've been thinking about Aemond and how isolated he is. But I feel like he's always been kind of isolated and wanted connection and never kind of found it until he got Rhaegar. And I don't know that he was always as much of a bully as he was after he got Vhagar, because even the fight that he had with his cousins that ended up with him losing his eye, that was after he got Vhagar. And I'm not saying he was just some wonderful, perfect kid before that, but something about claiming Vhagar changed him. And maybe it made him feel like he didn't need that connection anymore. And I do wonder, like, how much do the connections between the dragons and the riders, and vice versa, like, how much do they affect one another's personalities? And when you go from being small, bullied kid who's ignored by everyone, including their parents, to riding the largest dragon in the world, what does that do to you? It can't do anything good, I would think, because then you go from being ignored to being feared. Probably being avoided because you are feared, which is also very isolating. Okay, here's the final look. This was an adventure. I'm going to be honest with you. It was an adventure. I got to get more into practice of doing more fun looks. I got to do these more often. Anyway, thanks for watching, and watch House of the Dragon so we can talk about it. Bye.